Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be going through the first in our mechanics series. This will be on the Serpentis dungeon. Serpentis was the first dungeon to be introduced to Archeage that wasn't in at release. At the time it was a 10-man dungeon, pretty difficult when it first came out. Of course back then we only had Delphinad gear at max, but now it's reduced to 5-man. It's pretty easy with Hiram gear. You just need a gear score of probably 4.5k party average, maybe 1 or 2 people DPS above 5k. For us we have a tank, melee, plate tank, healer, and then 3 archer DPS, so pretty easy. But this first room here is always the same. All you've got to do is have an archer on one side of the room, that's me right here. I'm going to pull this boss and take the aggro of it. They're going to then pull the second one, you'll see that here, just to separate them both out. So I've pulled this one, they've pulled that one. I'm now going to come back to the wall, reset this one, move over to the left side, where you'll see that they've pulled the boss away from the wall, faced it away from the raid, so that only this one remains active. We're going to let the tank build a little bit of aggro and then just simply DPS this boss down. So there you can see, first boss has gone down, super easy, just simply burst DPS. It only has 3 types of attacks, I believe, a stomp, a sort of slash, and then it's 3-pronged foot stomp as well. For a tank, it's pretty simple. You have to do is kite that 3-pronged foot stomp, and as a healer, just focus on healing the tank. No one else should really be taking damage. But now we're going to move on to the second boss in this room, exactly the same, just move it away from the party, let the tank go ham, and then everyone just DPS it down. A lot easier now that there's only one left as well, because you don't have to worry about accidentally aggroing the boss on the other side of the room. So here we just DPS it down, and then you'll see a chest spawn in the middle. Make sure you loot both these bosses for the abyssal crystals, because they can be used for crafting certain things, like gallant mounts. But the chest will spawn in the middle, and the best loot in this room is literally just the pet gear, and even that isn't that great anymore. But it's still, you know, worth getting if you don't want to craft, say, the guild saddle and things like that for your mounts, or buy the infusible gear for your pets. But there you see it drops, goes down, chest spawns. Just wait for the chest to become hittable, and then we loot it, and we're on to the next room. So at this point now, you can get any combination of a certain number of rooms, or sorry, 3. You'll have 3 rooms before the first boss room. These can be random. You'll see here, we've literally just got a wave room where you tap the boxes and kill the waves. Your options are basically a wave room just like this one, where you open boxes, kill waves until Balor spawns and kill Balius. Balius is the boss, or considered the boss of this room. He's not really that strong in the slightest. You've got another wave room. It's exactly the same. You just kill all the waves, and then Balius will spawn and kill Balius. There's a room where there's Lerman friendly in the middle. There's 3 spots in the room that mobs can spawn. It's again a wave sort of attack. You protect the guy in the middle, and then eventually a boss, the same boss that was in the first room, will spawn, and you just do the same. You kill that boss. You've got another room slightly harder with 3 bosses in it. They'll sort of become hittable one at a time, so you stand near the first one, DPS it down, stand near the second one, DPS it down, stand near the third one, DPS it down. When all are dead, leave the room, and all the minions and stuff will despawn and then just re-enter. And then in my opinion, the hardest room, which isn't even that difficult with a sort of gear score, is one where you'll have a Minotaur in the middle. He'll spawn waves of mobs around him in a circle, and he's not killable unless you pick up an orb that drops off the mobs at random, so you kill the mobs around him, and then you can focus the boss. And then there's also a Dwaxini room as well, which you'll see is the room after this one, so I'll explain that then. But as you can see, this room's super simple. We're just killing the waves really quickly. There's no sort of threat of anyone dying here. We're, you know, too well geared. We've got a decent healer, we've got a tank, and we're just, you know, smashing the mobs down, no problem. So we're just going to do all the last few cubes, the last few waves. You'll see at some point here Balius will spawn. It's advised to focus Balius because he can do some damage, but it's not really that much big of a deal. He goes down super fast, and it just really isn't a problem. So we're just going to finish up these last few waves here and then move on to the Dwaxini room. Okay, so here you can see the third room, single box in the middle. What's going to happen is a boss, the Dwaxini, is going to spawn right in front of this box. Not a difficult boss really anymore. People used to wings rotation this when you could do that with 10 people and wings and things, and lower gear score. It's not really needed anymore. All you need to do is just stay moving. Can be a little bit difficult for certain melee characters, especially if you've got like a full melee party, but basically she does one attack, which is a spinning flame. I don't really know what you call it, but it just spins and spits flames everywhere. If you stand in one spot and get just smashed by a bunch of those, she'll do a lot of damage to you. So that's why you sort of keep moving during that phase. But up until then, you really don't have to keep moving, because she doesn't do much that can be avoided. You'll see here I have the aggro and I'm just jumping all over the place. Benefits of being an archer. She's doing her, unavoidable damage to me, the firebolt, and there's the spinning attack that you see us all dodging. Could have died there. Luckily the healer was on it. Just the, being in leather and not being a tank, I don't have the highest HP pool, and I don't have the highest magic resistance either. But you'll see she does that flame attack a couple of times. Just avoid it. DPS are down. Super quick, super easy. There is an earring that this boss can drop. I believe it's an earring. It could be a ring. It's one of the two that she drops that is useful for some people, but it's pretty rare, and I'm pretty sure there are better accessories in the game now as well, so it's not something you really need to worry about. Most of this dungeon now you can just auto roll on. It's not really a big deal, because the Hiram gear is just better than everything. The only thing you really come to Serpentis for now is the Dream Ring, and that's about it. So our third room here, immediately you're going to see that there are plates on the floor. Don't stand on these because they will explode and they will do a lot of damage, if not just straight up kill you. Again, you can see there's one cube in the middle, and until I see what room this is, I won't actually know what boss this is, because it's been a couple of days since we did this run, and obviously I'm voicing over it afterwards, so we don't have Discord comms and stuff in the footage. But I believe we had the Minotaur boss this run. Whether it's this one or not, I can't remember. Looks to me like this is just going to be another wave room, so we kill the waves. Bosses, boxes are going to keep spawning. We just break the boxes, kill the wave again. I think the next room might be the Minotaur one, so you'll get to see that as well. Of course, I'm not going to be able to show you all variations of the rooms, but I've been over them a little bit, and it's not difficult at all. You can see how easily we're dealing with this. This really isn't a dungeon that should be a challenge anymore, unlike Miss Song, which can still be a bit of a challenge, or Abyssal Library, things like that. And if you're wondering why we're doing Serpentis, Dream Ring is one of the best rings, if not the best ring in the game, when fully upgraded, and we also just simply want the basic version to be able to do the Dahuta dungeon and try and get our dolphins. But you'll see here the waves keep spawning, so we're just going to keep killing them, same as the second room that we were in, and then deal with Balius, and then move on to the room after this one. One thing I want to note before we go into the next room is the chest, I believe from the third room, the valuables chest, the purple one, has potions in it. Those tend to go to your tank and your healer. They don't have the physical and magic defense pots in the game anymore. They used to be very, very useful for your tank. But just depending on who needs health pots and mana pots, just make sure to pass them on to your healer or a tank, whoever needs them the most. But here's the boss room. Now there's 3 possible bosses. We got Lerman. In my opinion, this is probably not the most difficult, but one of the most difficult ones now, because you can't do a wings rotation. The old strategy for this is everyone would stand in the same spot, you do a wings rotation and take 0 damage this fight. Everyone used to always wish for Lerman. Now in my opinion, Fangbo is probably the easiest one. So the bosses you have in here are Lerman, Camilla and Fangbo. I'll touch on Fangbo and Camilla first, because obviously you can see we're killing Lerman, and I can go through that in a second. So we'll start with Camilla. Camilla is probably going to be the most difficult one in my opinion, because it actually requires some sort of tactics. She'll spawn ads, you need to DPS them down. They respawn every minute and a half. This is phase 1. You need to get the boss to 830,000 HP, and that'll start phase 2. All ads need to be dead by the start of phase 2. At 830,000 HP, stealth the boss and that way she won't lift you and cast telekinesis, which pretty much murders everybody. And you then need to stay within 7 meters of her to avoid a debuff. She'll then start glowing red. When that happens, you need to get away outside of 7 meters from her. If you do end up with this debuff that she gives, make sure a healer purges you or mirror lights you. She'll also spawn poison on the floor and snake ads. Just avoid the poison, kill the snake ads, and then focus on the boss. As for Fangbo, he's probably the easiest one now. You basically just want to stand behind him. He summons 2 groups of snakes on corners of the room, DPS those down, focus the boss really. Fangbo shouldn't be too much of a problem anymore. And as for Lerman, you just watched, we sort of spread around the room and just DPS'd him down. He's a magic type boss. You're probably going to want a tank for this one. I know we had a plate tank, which shouldn't technically work, but the fact is, because he has such a high amount of HP, that the healer can keep him alive. We did a run after this without a tank, and we had to get a tank in regardless of plate or melee, just simply because we couldn't survive the burst DPS Lerman can do, because it's not very easily avoided anymore. But other than that, for Lerman, just sort of don't stand still when he does those ice wall type things, and just try and avoid the blue balls and taking as much damage, and just DPS burst him down. That's all you can really do for Lerman now, considering we can't protective wings rotation it or anything like that anymore. But this is the boss that drops most of the loot, your weapons and your armor, things like that. So this is one that this is the boss room most people would have come in before Hiram gear and things like that for weapon swaps and things like that, but now it's the last boss, the one you'll see coming up, that everybody is sort of doing Serpentis for. So this last boss is, in my opinion, pretty damn easy now. It's very, very easy if you have a cloth tank. I believe it's cloth you want as a tank for this, but it's also very easy if you have an archer that can kite properly. So in this one you'll see me tanking it and kiting it. Basically what it's going to do, it's going to throw fireballs out, 3 fireballs at this first phase. You can pretty easily dodge that. If you're in melee range, it'll do a swipe and a stamp as well. As far as I know, those can't be avoided within melee range, which is why if you have a plate or cloth tank doing it, just simply watch out for that, make sure your healer's focusing you. But as an archer, this first phase you can easily do without taking any damage, because you can simply sideswipe the fireballs, as you can see me doing here. Occasionally I miss because I'm not paying attention, but that's fine. And then every now and then you'll see these orange fireballs spawn. What you want to do is manage when these fireballs die, because as you saw there, you want to drag the boss over the circle that the fireballs drop. This purges madness stacks from him and stops him doing stupid amounts of damage and just wiping your entire raid. So every time you see the fireball spawn, you want to try and kill one when the boss is above it, so that he can be purged of that debuff. Obviously, if you're tanking this, face tanking this, it's a lot easier because you can just stand over one of the fireball spawn spots. But if you're a ranger, you have to sort of time the DPS of the party with when you feel you can drag the boss over that spot. At 40% health, it'll switch to phase 2, which you've just seen here. It can occasionally fire a meteor down, which will put this debuff on us, which will kill us if we don't purge ourselves on these platforms that rotate around the room. When you see that light beam and then purple around us, you've been purged. Get off the platforms, don't stay on them, because you will die. He also has a fireball attack now, which you saw him kill me with there. That's more difficult to survive as an archer tank, because we don't have the magic resistance, and unfortunately I was out of range of the healer there, so I died, but it's fine. The rest of my party can still burst this boss down, no problem. One thing to note is you'll see we're not killing the fireballs anymore. That's because after 40% you can no longer purge the stacks off of the boss, so there's no point to be killing those and trying to drag the boss over them. You can be aware of what stacks you're going to be at 40% to try and make sure he's at 0 madness stacks and doesn't get any damage increase, but realistically this boss isn't very hard anymore with the current gear scores. But you'll see, even though I'm dead, party is pretty easily killing this boss. Everyone's sort of staying alive pretty well, and he's about to drop. I'm not going to release because I'm going to be put in the first room behind a barrier. I'm just going to wait here until the boss is dead for a respawn. And there you go. So you see the boss is dead. I'm now going to get revived. Basically this boss can drop, I believe, weapons. He can drop, I think we got a shield this run, but the main reason everyone comes in here is for the mysterious gem item. For that you need to go and loot the boss yourself, and it'll appear in your inventory and you right click it to start the Dream Ring quest. That's the most important thing with Serpentis now, is that Dream Ring quest. So if you can't get to the last boss, there's no real reason doing the rest of the dungeon anymore. But in my opinion, the boss before this room is the most difficult. This boss is pretty simple. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. That's Serpentis. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them. I plan on doing the other dungeons as well, the mechanics videos for those, and potentially world bosses too, although most of them tend to just get face tanked now, so there's no real point in mechanics. But we will probably be doing Dahuta 10 man very, very soon, so I can do mechanics on that. Mist Song as well I could do mechanics on, and then any of the greaters if people are interested on that. I know I've said many times I've got the gem and the stat video coming up. They are coming, they're just taking time because it's going to be a lot of editing, and I also am currently working on a video to show you how I got my mount from the last video. But until next time guys, thank you for watching and I hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, take it easy everybody.